Doctors of Reddit, what do we not know about the human body? One I didn't see mentioned, we apparently don't know precisely how our bodies can distinguish gas from poop. We have some ideas, we know there are a ton of nerve endings in the area, but the precise mechanism of our bodies telling our brains, this is a fart, let loose, isn't really understood. What blows my mind is, it's distinct enough that we even pass gas while asleep. That difference must be wired deep. Apparently mine can't tell the difference because many times has my brain said, this is a fart, let loose, and it was not in fact a fart. I'm an anesthesiologist. We still don't really know why inhaled volatile anesthetics like sevoflurane, the principal anesthetic agent used to maintain general anesthesia, work. We kind of have an idea of maybe how it happens, but really, we don't know. It's commonly said in my field that whoever figures this out will win the next Nobel Prize in medicine. I'm a sleep specialist. While we do have some good theories about some of the functions of REM as far as how it affects the brain and health, we still don't fully understand the purpose of dreaming. Like, why do we dream at all, and why do dreams have a narrative instead of random, incomprehensible imagery? Unfortunately, this is unlikely to even be solved. I think it's nice our brains will put on little movies for us while in shutdown mode. It makes me wonder if it's possible to encourage us to keep sleeping, like when you're in that half-awake, half-asleep state and dreaming. Had a pathologist tell me that the interesting part of his job wasn't finding out how someone died, it was seeing everything that can be wrong with someone, so many life-threatening or life-altering horrible things that a person can have going on and still be alive. Good friend died of pneumonia. He was too busy at work, couldn't afford to take time off. He kept using OTC meds for the symptoms. He died unattended, so the coroner had to get involved. They did an autopsy. His body had cancer in 3 different places. He never stopped. Dude was old-timey tough. There was a study in a Scandinavian country that did breast biopsies on women of a wide range of ages who died of non-cancer related reasons, accidents, murder, peacefully in their sleep. And it was something like 15% of the women had cancerous clusters or something. If they had found during their life, they would have been treated for breast cancer, ranging from stage 1 to stage 3, and it was really spread across the age range too. Also, most men get prostate cancer at the end of their lives, but they can just live with it. It's one of these contained cancers that seem to not metastasize. All right, tiny break. I set myself a goal to reach 100 subs before the month ends, so if you're still here, maybe drop a like and subscribe. Let's see if we can actually pull it off. Let's continue. Not a doctor of medicine, but a doctor of philosophy. Right now, we're working on the connection between our intestinal microbiome and neuropsychiatric disease and brain aging. For instance, people with inflammatory bowel disease are more likely to develop dementia and experience comorbid anxiety and depression, but we don't know why. 100 years from now, people are going to be like, and in ancient times, they didn't know your digestion affected your brain. Obstetrics, gynecologist here, we still don't know exactly what makes labor start. We know all about the mechanics and physiology, but we don't know what makes the average uterus say it's go time. Adding on to the obstetrics and gynecology topic, the placenta is so understudied. The gut microbiome. While it's well known that the gut plays a huge role in digestion, researchers are discovering just how much our gut bacteria affect other parts of our health, like mood, immunity, and even brain function. This even extends to diet generally because it is almost impossible to study effectively and ethically. For example, an experiment looking at the long-term impact of eating a specific food is unreliable at best. People are naturally not good at sticking to a specific diet. Even if someone does stick to the diet, it is hard to prove they did. People are not honest about what they've eaten. People eat lots of different things, making it almost impossible to prove causation rather than correlation. Funding also generally comes from the food industry, introducing potential bias. So how can an experiment be designed? As an example of how little we truly understand, the single largest and most detailed experiment into the harmful impact of saturated fat will never be repeated for ethical reasons. They fed a mental institution specific and controlled diets. The results demonstrated people who ate more saturated fat had higher cholesterol and better health outcomes. When the experiment didn't demonstrate what they had expected, it wasn't fully published until the research was uncovered and republished decades later. When even one of our most basic assumptions, saturated fat is bad for health, may not even hold true. How much do we truly understand? Cholesterol, the big baddie, is necessary for vitamin D to synthesize in the body too. And vitamin D is necessary to modulate cholesterol and bile acids, which remove cholesterol, along with being a neurosteroid, helping with uptake of other vitamins and some of the most important minerals, maintaining mental health, maintaining the immune system, etc., etc. Nutrition as a whole field has a very long way to go, at least in mainstream healthcare. We don't even fully understand one of the most important and well-known vitamins' full role in the body. There's one of the few absolutes in medical science that nobody born blind has ever developed schizophrenia. This fact is so goddamned interesting because to me, I will say, not at all educated in neuroscience or psychology, that has to mean that schizophrenia is intrinsically linked with vision specifically, because even though people with schizophrenia have visual and auditory hallucinations, born deaf people have been known to develop it. So what makes being able to see such an important factor in getting it? I need the smart people to figure it out stat. There's still a lot about the immune system that's undiscovered. We haven't figured out autoimmune diseases. For example, MS, lupus. We know that for whatever reason, some things flip a switch in people, but we haven't fully figured it out yet. And wildly, when pregnant, symptoms seem to simply disappear from some people. Like their lives are so different while pregnant, and as soon as they give birth, the symptoms come back. It's wild.
Doctor here. Off the top of my head, here's a few deceptively big ones. 1, we still aren't exactly sure how anesthesia works. We just know it causes certain effects, and they are useful, so we use it. 2, psychiatry is still shockingly infantile in our understanding of human disorders. It's constantly in a state of flux. We don't understand a lot about the meds we currently use, and the diagnostic criteria for disorders still changes as we realize, hey, maybe all these behaviors aren't the same source disorder. It's incredibly hard to diagnose when the criteria is largely based on self-report and subjective observations. 3, to a lesser degree than #2, neurology is still learning a lot. It's further because you can observe more objective findings in neuro than psych, but we still struggle a lot with how brains function. 4, immunology. Don't even ask me because no one knows really. 5, yawns. Still guessing on why that happens too. There are some theories, but that's the best we got. Regarding 2 and 3, I had a major traumatic brain injury about a decade ago. Shockingly, there was no neck damage despite the cause of the injury, rotational fall from the horse with a skull fracture from being kicked as the horse fell over me. I was up and walking 45 minutes after a rotational fall without a helmet, which basically means that I have the best guardian angel in history or something. But the after effects of the TBI were really strange. It would take way more time to fully write out on my phone's keyboard than I'm willing to spend right now, but it caused such a shift in my personality. For the longest time, I felt like my soul was broken. One of the most comforting things, though, was going through neuropsych testing and finding there was no statistically significant change in my cognitive abilities from the accident. I had neuropsych testing data from before the accident, which was probably interesting for the doctor. I don't know how many cases there are of somebody with neuropsych testing from before and after a major TBI, but it didn't help with the "why do I feel like I'm wrong inside" question. Finally, I came to realize that our brains and minds are wholly biological. A big impact is enough to change us fundamentally, which means that everything we are is physically there. I felt different because I became different. In a way, it's like the old me died at 19 and the new me was born. I'm a nurse, not a doctor, but in school I learned that when in vitro fertilization was being pioneered, scientists were unable to create an embryo from the combination of sperm and egg. It wasn't until they added female secretions in that they were able to produce viable embryos, and they don't know what role those secretions play in the process. This was about 15 years ago, so if anyone has new information on the topic, I'd love to hear it. I can answer this one. The reason why adding female secretions was required to produce viable embryos was because of the role they play in facilitating a process called capacitation. Basically, sperm aren't ready to fertilize an egg at the time of ejaculation. They can't move very well, and they can't penetrate this protective outer coating surrounding the egg called the zona pellucida. Exposure to the vaginal environment is what triggers the processes to occur that enable the sperm to swim and get through that outer coating so they can fertilize the egg. It was that assisted reproductive research you mentioned that led scientists to discover and try to understand all this stuff. Allergies. Specifically food allergies. And why do adults develop them after never reacting to them before? And that's it for today's story. If you had fun listening, drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and tap the little bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for hanging out. See you soon.